From Snapchat to Instagram, Reddit to Imgur, Wikipedia to Spotify, technology has invaded our lives in innumerable ways. These services keep us connected to others in fashions our grandparents would never have dreamed of, and the breakthroughs are so common that they're hardly even noticeable anymore. However, nothing in this world is given for free. As we've become more connected, so too are we more tethered. A hive mind model acts in great favor to the individual, but only as long as they hand over the reins. Do you wish for instant contact? Well, it requires constant checking up, and as we get further and further down the road, it becomes harder for us to break free, to disconnect and feel ourselves. Technology is an addiction, carefully crafted by thousands of different marketing teams over the last 20 years to perfectly abuse our attention. But before we get into the problem, we first have to define what we're talking about. When we say attention, we actually mean the cognitive domain of complex attention, which in psychology is the concentration of awareness on some phenomenon to the exclusion of other stimuli. It's usually broken into 4 categories. Selective attention is the ability to select from many factors or stimuli and to focus on only the one that you want while filtering out other distractions. Well-crafted selective attention often results in deep focus with exclusion to anything else. If you can read in a loud environment while excluding other sounds, you likely have a strong selective attention. Sustained attention is the ability to focus on one specific task for a continuous amount of time without being distracted. Reading a book all the way through is an example of sustained attention. If you're starting to drift this far into the video to look at that juicy phone, another tab, or another video, you might have poor sustained attention. Or, I'm just that boring. This is the part of attention we're really going to focus on, but there are a few more, so let's not get hasty. Alternating attention is the ability to switch your focus back and forth between tasks that require different cognitive domains, and divided attention is the ability to process 2 or more responses or react to 2 or more different demands simultaneously. Divided attention is often referred to as multitasking. Alright, now that we know what attention is, what's the problem? And how is our sustained attention being attacked by technology, ads, and clickbait Facebook articles? Well, first off, internet addiction is shown to be comorbid with ADHD and depression across genders. And for males, social phobias and hostility were also associated. Internet addiction does not yet have a widely accepted diagnostic criteria, but that's only because the world of science can turn very slowly. Clinicians have realized the significance of such a disorder, but there are arguments on how to categorize it. On one hand, it shows the symptomatic withdrawal and tolerance of a substance abuse disorder. On the other hand, its addiction is usually based more on various compulsive behaviors. The comorbidity also throws clinicians off because they're unsure of the cause and effect. It could, for example, be true that depressed teens are likely to go to the internet for solace and become addicted, instead of the addiction being its own event. Still, the literature seems clear enough for me to make my very own unqualified and obvious hypothesis. It's well documented that pleasure is associated with high levels of hedonic buying. It's the reason why fruity, smell-good stores sell soaps and lotions, and who the heck knows what type of bat crud poultices for people to smear on their wrinkles. It's why non-utility stores play popular music in the background. If it makes you feel good, you want to buy things that make you continue to feel good. A round stone rolls downhill. It's also known that dopamine receptors are abused in video games. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter implicated in motivation, pleasure, cognition, memory, learning, and fine motor control. Again, the key word here is pleasure. Such games utilize a reward system that gets your brain hooked and coming back. The way that operant conditioning works best is when your subject's mind is rewarded at first and then intermittently rewarded as time goes on. Think of it as a level up system. Usually it's incredibly easy to level up a character at first. Level 1 to level 2 might take just 30 seconds or a minute, but level 99 to 100 might take days or weeks, or in my case, if you play sporadically, years. It's because your brain has learned that pushing the buttons sometimes leads to a reward of chemical explosion, shiny graphics, new powers, gems, etc. that produces instantaneous pleasure. So you keep pushing that button over and over and over and over and over again. When money's involved, like in loot crates or slot machines, the end result is literally gambling. Many microtransaction games work on the same principle. They start with a freebie to get you going. Then if you're susceptible, which you almost definitely are, we're much more liable to be susceptible than we believe. You get sucked in. The implications go farther though. Social media has moved to a similar abuse. Snapchat is a perfect example of instant gratification. You send a picture, get one back, feel happy, feel popular, remember the nights that were. If you are popular, the only implication is you get hooked on your phone. But the normality of that situation makes it easy to overlook. Downward comparisons allow you to remain at a stable level of happiness even though your face-to-face social interaction has decreased. Usually that's associated with negative social referencing. But if you're unpopular, that's where the real problems come up. You still want those pop-ups, those likes, those notifications, etc. It's just harder to make those downward comparisons if there's not a lot of people below you. And addiction hits double hard because you're not communicating anymore. You're simply absorbing media. That's when those negative pathologies begin to creep in. Either way though, the boogeyman is already there. The phone, the computer, the internet in general is a siren singing, and we've all heard her sweet, sweet song. The temptation to go back is not just a matter of will, but sometimes life and death. A AAA survey reports that 46% of teens admit to texting and driving. You and I both know that number is a lot higher than 46%. But it's harder to think of a better example of the internet stranglehold than that. This is a problem which may get worse before it gets better. That is, if it gets better. We don't yet know the effects that growing up with constant connection will have on the next generation. It's new, breaking edge, and poorly understood. We don't know if the effect is even reversible. Yep, we might have messed up our attentions for good, but I'm ever the optimist. Obviously. So I do have some suggestions. Suggestions that I know are incredibly difficult to take seriously, but that's what makes them all the more important. My first suggestion is don't use any media 2 hours before bed. It's longer than recommended, but it's justified. 2 hours is just 12.5% of the average waking day. It'll help you sleep, and 1 in 4 Americans already have acute insomnia each year. It'll also help you associate specific times as non-internet. I've seen others suggest half the day as non-internet, but I want you to take this seriously. Attention is a hefty price, but we've paid it for this long not because we're willing peons, but because the payoffs are huge. Visual leaps into other worlds, instant communication, the ability to track navigation worldwide, take mesmerizing photos with a freaking calculator. But we do need to fight back. Otherwise, we'll lose control of ourselves and the grandiosity. The only way to do this is to give our brains a chance to strengthen our sustained attention again. Putting down the phone and simply being present will be our mental equivalent of a workout. My second suggestion is simply to complete your morning ritual before you pick up the phone. Many of us charge our phones on nightstands, use it as an alarm clock, and check our messages before we even have gone to the bathroom. That's literally putting your phone before your biological needs. And that's it. Those are my only 2 suggestions for now. I believe we can have it all, or at least much more than what we have right now. Technology and ourselves. Yes, it's tough. It'll require us to be silent and welcome back the blank stares that a canvas gives, but creativity cannot be bought out. Ingenuity cannot be won as a carnival prize for the most pokes on a screen, and knowledge cannot be digested when the world is screaming at you to look in every direction at once. I'm the Dark Jester. Thanks for watching.